Welcome to what will hopefully be the first of many classic deck techs. This deck is from 1994. It was created and played by a man named Zak Dolan. He used it to win the very first World Championship. So let's take a look at what this deck does. It's a control deck. It tries to lock the opponent out of the game and then kill them with whatever's available. Does this using cards like Stasis and Icy Manipulator, and Meek Stone to keep stuff tapped down. So Winter Orb and Armageddon and Strip Mine to attack their mana base. Four Swords to Plowshares to control magic, deal with creatures. Some Disenchants to hit artifacts. The whole suite of cheap artifact mana, all the Moxen, Mana Vault, the Black Lotus. It's got all the dual lands that are in the colors that it is to shore up the mana base, and a single Library of Alexandria to also produce mana and draw cards. Now, let's take a look at some of the creatures we have. We have Forcera Angel. This was the win condition of choice back in the day. That was how you won the game in 94. You would play Sarah Angel, you'd attack with it 5 times, and you'd shake hands with your opponent if you were nice. It has the advantage of not tapping to attack, and thus not staying tapped due to Meek Stone. Classic combo. We also have Root of Paradise and Ley Druid as green cards. They're just extra mana. I think the only other card that's green is Regrowth, and then Floral Spasm and Winter Blast out of the sideboard. A little splash of green there. We have both Clone and Vesuvan Doppelganger as ways to double up on some of the creatures that you only have one of, or copy something good your opponent has. Got Time Elemental that just cleans up anything that may get through your defenses, send it back to their hand. Couple Old Man of the Sea, which is a card that still sees fringe play. It's a 2/2 for 3 with a 2/3 for 3, excuse me, which was not, those weren't bad stats at the time. And the text is kind of small, but basically you could tap it to steal a creature with power 2 or less, and then you don't have to untap it, because when you untap it you lose the creature. It's just a great way of dealing with those weird little guys that come down early, and creatures weren't so great in those days, but they could still kill you. We got some of the classic power spells: Ancestral Recall, Time Walk, Time Twister. Just really good spells. You play them if you're allowed to, and at this point, Zak Dolan was allowed to. And Mana Drain, which isn't power per se, but still very powerful. Not really accelerating much out with mana from it, but it's still a perfectly good counter spell. In those days you had to worry about mana burn, so that could come into play. You got a couple weird ones. Siren's Call just makes their guys attack, and if they can't attack, then they die. And I guess it affects creatures that are tapped due to the Icy Manipulator, or the Meek Stone, or this Kismet. This deck has a fair amount of ways to make creatures unable to attack, and then you play Siren's Call and they die. You got Recall for the very late game. Costs a ton of mana, a ton of cards, but it gets you some stuff back that you may have used earlier and you may want again. Sideboard is kind of a mishmash. We got counters, a counter spell and power sink. Got magical hack and sleight of mind that work on your opponent's cards. Cards like Karma, Circle of Protection Red, but they would have cards that affect your colors, so you use magical hack or sleight of mind to change them. Diamond Valley is a nice life gain engine with Old Man of the Sea. You steal something, you sacrifice it, you steal something else. You got, as you deal with artifacts and copy artifact and Floral Spasm. Floral Spasm is that weird old wording of Floral Spasm may choose to destroy an artifact. Well, of course, you're the one making the decision. Winter Blast hits some flyers, reverse damage, which I guess is life gain. In the Eye of Chaos, they're playing a bunch of instants. As this deck doesn't really play a ton of instants other than, the cheap ones. All the instants cost 1 or 2, so costing more doesn't really even hurt. We got Chaos Orb, which is just ridiculous. You flip it onto the playing field. And I'll never be citing this in because it doesn't work online. It requires you to have a physical card with physical properties. So that's basically the deck. Before there was Weissman's The Deck, there was this. Zak Dolan's Untitled 1994 World Champion deck, which is blue-white control, splash of green, a lot of powerful old cards.